Good morning. Welcome to the Sunday service and Happy New Year also. Still, we have new people today. And today we're going to meditate few minutes. So after that we have a Dhamma talk. Right now, Venerable Chandasara is going to lead the Metta meditation.
Good morning to everybody. Shall we start meditation from relaxation, meditation, mindfulness, breathing meditation? Let's sit in a very comfortable posture. Whatever posture, it makes you very comfortable and helps you to bring to one-pointedness. Now, shall we prepare our mind and body to relax? Take a 3 long breathing to relax our mind. Now, shall we empty our experiences, whatever we had until now? Empty our experiences. Breathe in and out gently, smoothly. No forcing your breath. Just breathe in and out gently and naturally and mindfully. Let the distractions and disturbances, disturbing thoughts and pleasant thoughts come to your mind and go away. Just observe them, how they occur, how they arises and ceases. Not attaching to those attitudes, thoughts, opinion, just mindfully observe them. Breathe in and out gently and naturally. Let the distracted thoughts come to your mind and go away, not attaching to them. Just focus on breath, Breathe in and out gently, naturally, and also mindfully. When we are engaging in breathing meditation, it is natural that distracted thoughts come to our mind. Just let them go away and come. Never attach to them this moment. Breathe in and out, gently and naturally, mindfully. Take a 3 long breath again to relax our body and mind. Now, shall we practice loving kindness meditation? May all the living beings, including me, be physically well. May all the living beings, including me, be mentally well. May all the living beings, including me, be free from danger. Let's continue practicing loving kindness meditation in this way until we hear the bell. Let me repeat again. May all the living beings, including me, be physically well. May all the living beings, including me, be mentally well. May all the living beings, including me, be free from danger. Let's continue practicing this loving kindness meditation until we hear the bell.
Sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, Ranjan Sara leading the meditation. Now time for the Dhamma talk. Our speaker is here, our good friend Sahai Maharjan, and we really appreciate Sai your teaching here, and he's almost teaching here. I think almost more than 10 years. More than 10 years he's coming to our place and giving Dhamma talk. Last few years, basically every second Sunday he's giving Dhamma talk. So thanks again being with us. You can start your Dhamma talk right now.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sabbe tasanti dandassa sabbe bhayanti macchuno. Attanang upamangkatva nahaneya nagahati. The Abbot Bante Santi and their venerable Bantes and their friends in Dhamma. It's always an honor to be here. And first of all, I want to wish all of you Happy New Year 2026. And with the good work and with the good practice, I wish you all another successful and healthy year ahead. I see some new faces, but I do see more familiar faces, so I want to continue with the topics that we've been talking last few months. I tried to talk on each noble path that I started talking maybe about 4 months ago. And last time, I should say last year, December, I shared some thoughts and some teachings of the Buddha on right speech, right? That was the Samma Vacha. And today I was planning to continue on that same Eight Noble Path. The fourth one, I think, is right action, Samma Kammanta. And just to give you a little context, the Buddha spent about 45 years teaching the wisdom that he discovered under the Bodhi tree. And just to give you a sense, the very first time he taught this Four Noble Truth, Eightfold Path was right after his enlightenment, probably about 90 days after his enlightenment, to his first 5 disciples. That is what we know. The sutta is known as Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And that it's not a full detail. In Pali, in text, it talks about the Buddha spent whole night teaching this Dhammacakkappavattana. That means the turning of the wheel. And he spent whole night teaching these 5 monks. But when you read the sutta, it's not that long. It's very short. So you can tell it's just a summary. The monks, those who memorized, had to summarize those long discussion into key points. And that's what you see. Fast forward 45 years later, the Buddha was 80 years old, and he was counting his last breath. You might imagine Buddha was very powerful, strong. Well, he was when he was young, just like us. When you turn 80, I don't know yet, I'm halfway there, but if anybody's 80, just let us know your experience. How does it feel to be 80, right? So Buddha has spoken about his aging, his body, aching body. And this best analogy he gave was, imagine those days there weren't cars, so he used the cart, the chariot as an example. Imagine 80 years old cart. All the pieces are falling apart. You just like a nail pieces here and there. Try to connect, keep rolling. That's how I feel with my body. So Buddha was, experiencing that aging. Anyway, that time he was lying on the bed. There's very few time left. Very limited time left. A wandering ascetic named Subhadra came by. He was looking for a teacher, and he happened to heard about the Buddha, and he came to the temple And the other monks stopped him. You can't go. The Buddha is very weak and he's counting his last breath. You cannot go and interrupt him. Buddha saw that he heard the noise in the hallway and he allowed the Subhadra to come in and just let him come by. And the Subhadra, besides the Buddha's aging, he was more concerned about his problem. He was like, I need some help. I've been going to teachers to one teacher to another. I keep getting these mixed messages. Somebody says I should believe in next life. Somebody says there is no next life. Somebody says I should be follower of them, not others, and vice versa. So a lot of confusion. And so Buddha stopped him. Yeah, there are a lot. So don't bother about sorting who is right and who is wrong. If you go to anybody and they teach you this Aryastangika Magga or Eight Noble Path, if anybody teaches Eight Noble Path, don't even ask who the origin is. Just follow them, because Eight Noble Path is very solid direction for anybody's life to learn, to improve. So I wanted to share that story because I think I tried to connect. 45 years back, he taught this Dhamma Chakapavattana to 5 monks. On the day he was dying, he was teaching the same. So the principle didn't change. A lot of the times, I'm in psychology, so I read about different theories, different scholars. Their idea change as they age. As you mature, your idea, your belief, your concepts start to evolve. What you taught, for example, I've seen a significant change in Sigmund Freud's ideas, right? How he started as a young psychologist versus when he was older. His idea evolved and transformed, and rightfully so, because he doesn't fully know. But that is not the case for the Buddha. He was very confident throughout 45 years. So that's why, when you hear somebody talking about Eight Noble Path, that should be a solid guidelines for us to follow in life. So I wanted to give you that context and talk a little bit about right action. So you can call skillful action. This, just like the first two, Sammaditthi and Sammasankappa, those are basis for wisdom. So that's when you have right understanding. And if you haven't heard of, I did explain a little bit. You can check the previous videos so you can find little detail. Those two are for wisdom. And then we talk about Sammaditthi, Sammasankappa, Sammavaca. We talked about right speech last time. And how do you define what is right speech? Well, I gave you 3 simple criteria to look at. Whether it is factual, whether it is true, or beneficial. And Buddha gave very nice way to identify what kind of speech we should engage, whether we talk or listen. So that's helpful from right speech point of view. In right action, there are 3 main abstinence, so to speak. So some guidelines, and if you're familiar with 5 precepts, you find all those 3 in those 5 precepts as well. The first one is to abstain from killing, taking someone's life, and the second one is abstain from stealing, and the other one is sensual misconduct. So I don't want to say sexual misconduct. That will limit to only sexual behaviors, but in Pali it's kamesu michachara. That means it's not just about sex, it's about sensual misconduct, so abuse of senses. So we'll try to give you a little more detail. So those 3 are considered, staying away from them lead to right action. Now, sometimes people, yourself or myself sometimes think like these principles are hard to follow. The 5 precepts, it's not the Buddha's rule actually. He did not start giving these 5 precepts. It existed way before the Buddha. Buddha just like endorsed it. This is a really good principle to keep us out of trouble. If you think of like, if you want to stay away from any kind of legal or ethical troubles, all you need is 5 precepts. Killing, lying, stealing, intoxication, right, and sensual misconduct. So if you stay away from those 5, you're pretty much safe. You don't get tickets, you don't get lawsuits, you don't get any legal troubles. That's actually very helpful guidelines, what really protects people. Now, I want to compare, Buddha, one time there was another young lady, she was very righteous person. Sujata, well known among Theravada tradition, she wanted to know, how should I follow precepts? She asked, what would be the good analogy or good way to look at how should I follow precepts? And there are a few ways, and I remember some. It's a little detailed sutta, but I remember some. One of them, the Buddha explained, some people follow precepts as I don't know if the cowboy is a term, the guy who takes care of cows, right? So the shepherd, there you go, the shepherd. Some people follow precepts as a shepherd. That means, forgive me if I'm not using the right term, or a cowboy who takes care of cattle, right? Some people protect precepts in that manner. Why that is not good? Well, if you are a shepherd, you don't own the cattle. Or if you're a cowboy, you don't own the cattle, you just watch them. And you lead them to their stable or wherever they live, and you leave. Whatever the production from that cow you get is not yours. You don't get to enjoy because you just watched for somebody. So that's not the right way to observe precepts, because you're doing it because for the sake of, I don't know, to show off or to prove something. That doesn't work. And some people, the Buddha's advice there was you have to follow precept as a nature, like the Arhantas. And this is another really my favorite topic when in discussion is how do you see the enlightened ones? The enlightened ones are righteous by nature. They're not trying to be righteous. Now, that's a very big distinction. There are people, those who are knowledgeable versus wise. That's a big distinction. And Arhantas, including the Buddha, including all the Buddha's disciples who have achieved that enlightenment, which everybody can, with a little bit of practice, a little bit of effort, you can approach that goal. Otherwise, all this assembly and discussion is meaningless, right? We are in that confidence. We can get that, we can achieve that goal, achieve that state of mind. And enlightenment is basically a moment that sparks that wisdom. It never goes away. So the enlightened ones, those who have achieved those states, they do not follow precept. And even in the suttas, they are off the precepts. They don't have to, because by nature, they are righteous. There is no way you can convince them to do wrong, convince them to do anything bad. There is no way. And I was thinking about this on my drive, and I thought, what would be a good analogy? Think of like you're trying to learn how to type or trying to learn how to bike, right? When you start, it's so much effort. It takes a lot of effort to keep that, right? You remember the key, remember the spacing, remember the speed, spelling. There's a lot of things you have to keep in mind because you're now very new. It's not your aptitude or it's not your attitude yet, because it's a skill, new skill you have not acquired yet. Once you acquired, you might be doing all those activities even without much effort. It's so natural. See, that becomes, right, your second nature. It's natural now. Same way, precepts should become the second nature. It should become natural practice. Killing, now, when you are first time observing sila, like killing, and I like to think from the Abhidhamma point of view, what happens in our thought? Sometime in Abhidhamma, there are 8 kind of unwholesome thoughts that's rooted on desire, 2 of them in hatred, and 2 of them in delusion. So if you think of the first one, Somanasa Sahagata Ditthigata Sampayutta Asankarika, that's the first unwholesome consciousness. And you think of that, when people engage in killing or hurting or harming anybody, it's not just the simple action, because people take it lightly. Oh, I don't do that all the time. Well, it could become a habit, right? It's very easy to make excuse, because when you act to hurt or kill somebody, that takes quite a bit of mental processing. There is a somanasa. That means every consciousness has a root of ignorance. That we act on unwholesome because we have some subtle layer of ignorance there. But in this one, the very first one is, it derives some pleasure. So there is some sensual pleasure in that action, right? You're happy about your action. And ditthigata, sometime you have wrong view. Killing animals is okay, as long as it's not my own. So that is a wrong view people bear when they act in terms of killing. And sometimes it's prompted or unprompted. Sometimes people ask you to do it, sometimes you do it on your own. So that the whole process goes through. And anytime you engage in an action, before even that action, there's quite a bit. There's quite a bit goes in our mind. There's a contact, phassa vedana. That means there's a contact, there's a sensation, there's a volition. You thought about it. There's intention there. Phassa vedana sanya chetana. That's your intention, and you also have the one-pointedness because you're choosing that particular action to do, right? Manasikar, and you also process that idea for that second. So nothing is accidental when you do something. It takes a lot of mental processing to act or to hurt somebody or to kill somebody. So that is not, we cannot blame somebody or someone if you choose to do that. Now, accidental events like if you're walking and you step on something, that's a different story. There is no intention there. So the intention is very powerful. So the Buddha's advice is make that nature. Make not harming, not killing your nature. That non-violence should be like, I don't do it. You might have met people, I don't eat meat. I'm vegan. I'm vegetarian. I am sober. So there are terms people use so proudly because if you think about those individuals, they must have gone through quite a homework to get to the point. Now they own that personality, right? They own that attitude. That's me. I don't do this. I don't lie. I don't kill. I don't drink. So that becomes their attitude. And that is the opposite of, what people do by nature, hurting and harming. And that's very important in our journey. If you are learning Buddha's teaching, there should be a reason. Some people do for fun, some people do for other purposes, but learning about Buddha is one main goal is we want to achieve that, appeasement of mind. I don't want to call happiness. It's another big topic we can explore, but appeasement of mind. And Buddha was 80 years old. He was frail. He was achy. He was painful in his body. His mind was not. He could enter into meditation immediately and stay in there for hours without being bothered by physical ailments. So that is the appeasement of mind. His mind has already calmed down. And that's what we believe in. That's what we want to achieve. And it is possible. You may have a glimpse of them when you are listening to Dhamma or practicing. So that's for the killing part. And stealing part the same way. I don't want to go on detail, but stealing is, again, it's another principle that really, and at the beginning I mentioned, sabbe tasanti dandasa, sabbe bhayanti machuno. Every human beings are afraid of punishment, afraid of dying. And that's why you use yourself as an example to refrain from hurting others. That's the golden rule. Always use yourself as an example. And some people have hard time doing that. I don't want to talk about politics, but there are times people, say things or fabricate ideas that's so far from truth without thinking about the consequences, not only to themselves, to other individuals, that the topic related to. If I lie about, let's say, my students, I might get away with the lies, but I forgot to think about what that does to my students, to people that I'm lying about. So there's a lot far going consequences, and people engage in those kind of action. In fact, in the Theravada teaching, deliberate lying is the worst. Deliberate liars can do any crime. That's what Buddha has explained. Just like the example of the elephant. Think of elephant. It's actually to his son Rahula. Buddha was teaching him the importance of practicing truthfulness. Rahula was very young when he became monk. So Buddha has to give simple ideas, simple teaching. And Buddha explained, imagine an elephant goes to a battle. It will fight. It will use everything in its possession to battle, to in the combat, except for the trunk. And it will use its tusk. It will use its body, head, but it will never use its trunk, because the trunk is the source of its survival. And then the elephant still has hope for life. But the time when the elephant starts using its trunk, you should know that the elephant has no hope for life. It will eventually die because it given up the only source of life. And the Buddha used that example. That's how deliberate liars are. They have no hope for righteousness to truth because they have given up, and they would do any kind of misdeeds, deception, and just lie about it, just cover it. And for other people, those who sometimes engaging lies to cover their bad deeds is actually breaking multiple precepts, if you think of. You kill and you lied. Now you broke another precepts. And you try to cover that lie with more lies. That's why they're saying, right? The lies begets lies, more lies. So lying is another important bodily act, and that's a speech. So I'll come back to the stealing part. The stealing part is taking somebody's possession, right? You don't take someone. It's a common sense. You don't steal. You don't take what's not given. And there is also, again, if you think from the Abhidhamma, you have to be mindful of this consciousness. Even for Bantes, when we were monks, we have rules. The very important rule, one of the very powerful rule is you don't steal. Because if you steal, you lose your monkhood. It's that powerful. You're not allowed to take what is not given. And there is a monetary value in it. It's more like commentary part. The Buddha's warning is just don't do it. It doesn't make sense to engage in stealing. Instead, practice the opposite, generosity. And the third one is a little more important one, which is sexual misconduct. It's important for lay people, those who have a marriage. You want to maintain good relationship with your partner, so protect that. But in a broader sense, in Pali term, kamesu is a plural. Kama is sexual, but when you say kamesu, it's like a sensual, multiple, so more than one. That means Buddha is referring to all of our senses, right? Good food, good sleep, travel, sex, sleep, eat. These all activities we do are sensually important, to a limit. The moderation, or to some extent, it's necessary, it's important for well-being. But when it is kamesu michachara, so that's the powerful word Buddha used. When you micha means you wrongfully engaged in this sensual pleasure. So samma is the correct way. Micha is the wrong way. So you engage your senses in the wrong way. People going too far in their activities, seeking this constant sensual pleasure, right? That leads to not very good life. It's just like trying to, I forgot the term now. It's leper. It's like you kind of a rash you get, like you try to itch. Leper. Yeah, leper sores. Yeah. So there was a rash, right? There's an analogy in Buddha's teaching. When people try to entertain their senses, how does it look like? So he gave people, those who have those rash, they go and burn their skin, because when you burn the skin, it temporarily relieves the itch. You don't feel itchiness anymore for a short time, but eventually the burn leads to a little bubble and it bursts, and it's worse pain, and then it spreads to another part, and it starts having more. So Buddha used this analogy to explain, and when you try to constantly seek this sensual pleasure, there is no end to it. It will continue to have stronger or more. That's why coming back and having that sort of a knowing the limit. And I like this analogy. How do you know when is the limit? What is enough for you? Well, it's subjective. You may find yourself, I can do so much, and that's how much is enough for me. And the analogy is, think of somebody going to pick up the largest orange from the orchard. Like you go in there and you go walk, you see an orange there and you pick it. Oh, this is the largest one. As you walk by, you saw another tree. There seems like a more larger oranges there. So you drop the one you have in your hand and you pick that one and start coming back. Now you know what happens next. You see another tree that seems like a larger orange. So you keep doing that for a while until you feel exhausted. Like, okay, you decide yourself, okay, this is the largest one. Doesn't matter how many others are in there. So you have to give yourself, like, what is my limit? How far can I go? Otherwise, you will be changing your orange again and again. There's no limit to it. So that's the third one, right? And the last one, actually, in the 5 precept is Suramere Majjapamadatan. That is not in the right action set. There's only 3: killing, stealing, and sensual abuse. But the using intoxicants, any type of drugs, any type of intoxicants, that leads to, so it's not just like a drinking per se. Now, I don't want, some people takes to extreme. Makes sense, right? Some people, let's say you drink a beer or drink a glass of wine. Is that violating your precepts? Well, you have to ask yourself, because the fifth precept is Suramere Majjapamada Tana. So Suramere means anything that intoxicates you, right? But it's not just intoxicant, Majjapamada. That leads me to be heedless. That makes me indiligent. So diligent is like a pamada, right? You're diligent about it, you lose your diligency. If any kind of substance that loses your diligency, that is intoxicant. That is considered in abusing or breaking the precept. So that precept is powerful. It's a very important one. That is considered another part of the 5 precepts, but not in the right action. And that completes the 5 precepts. And keeping these precepts helps. Again, not just for the sake of telling others I follow 5 precepts, it's more to make it nature, to become naturally, I stay away from these troubles. I stay away from this abstinence. And I don't want you to take it lightly, the 5th one, in the precepts, Suramere Majjapamada. Intoxicants, I have worked with people, I have spoken to a lot of people, how it affects their life when you use substance. Also, sometimes that could be the root for breaking other precepts. So I have a story for you, and I'll end with the story and take some questions. This is before the Buddha's time. I don't want to think of like this is a Buddha story. It's a little old story. This ascetic was known as keeping 5 precepts very well. So he follows these precepts very well. And a young lady in that village heard about it, being young, thought like, I'm going to test this ascetic. Let's say that's Rishi. I call it Rishi. So I'll test this Rishi. Let's see if he will break any of the precepts. So she goes to attend this ascetic every day, takes care of him, cleaning, and gradually winning his favor. So she was able to do that. Now, the ascetic was very happy and wanted to return the favor and ask, what can I do for you? Because you've been taking care of me, you attended to me very well. And the lady said, I'll ask you tomorrow. So I'll come back tomorrow and you can fulfill your promise. And she goes back and she comes back. She brings back a goat, a jar of good wine, let's say we call it a bottle of good wine, and herself dressed up very well. She comes in and she asks, okay, here's my deal. I want you to kill this goat and eat the meat. And the ascetic said, that's not going to happen because I keep 5 precepts. Killing is not allowed, so I'm not going to kill or eat, right? Well, you told me you're going to fulfill your promise. If you don't fulfill it, then you'll be lying. So that's the 2nd precept. And he said, I remember my promise. What else can I, what other options do I have? And she says, okay, then you have to sleep with me. And it's oh, that's going to break my 3rd precept, so I can't do that either. And then only option left is I have a bottle of wine. Got to drink a little bit. And the ascetic, that seems like a least harmful thing to do, right? So he decided, okay, then pour me some. And he started drinking, and once he started drinking, he got drunk, right? He got intoxicated, and he said, you know what? Kill that goat. Just kill it. Cook some food, and the lady was about to leave, don't go, stay here tonight. So it's just a story, but you don't want to take any of the precepts light because that could lead to more problem, right? So anyway, so coming back to a little seriousness. So those 3, killing, stealing, and sensual misconducts are to keep them away and engage in the positive one. So we can talk about more, but the killing is not just a complete precept. Abstaining from killing leads to practicing more kindness, right? You save lives. That actually makes precept complete. Staying away from abstaining from the action is one thing. You promote that. You tell others, hey, first you practice, then you tell others, killing is not necessary, it's not good. And next you advocate for kindness. So that makes precept complete. In Pali, we call Trikotika. So Sila has 3 layers. You abstain, you tell others, you advocate. Same thing with the stealing. You don't take your others, but you also tell others stealing is bad. Then you practice the opposite, which is generosity. You give when there is a need, when there is a possibility. And same thing with sensual pleasure. Don't abuse your senses. You tell others the same thing, and you promote for more mindfulness, more diligent activities. And that makes the right action a part of the noble path. So we can talk about other topics in our next meeting. Thank you. And
Thank you, Sai. I like to hear the last story, like it's a wonderful story. Anyway, so this audience question right now. You can ask any question, any comment, anything. We have time like 10 minutes.
yes, Anand.
Sai, can you finish the story? No, I'm just
I did, didn't I?
Sai, what was the name of the person that was the last one to
Subhadra.
Subhadra? Let's say that there was not a lot of time and Subhadra went to ask the Buddha, what is wisdom? What do you think, if the Buddha had to give a simple answer, what do you think his description of wisdom simply would be?
I think the Buddha's answer to him was like, if there is anybody teaching the 8 noble path, that is the right teacher. And wisdom is, in theory, you can talk about wisdom like Sammaditthi and Samma Sankappa. The first 2 are the part of wisdom. So Samma Sankappa is right thought, not having an extreme thought like aversion or violent thoughts or extreme desire for sensual entertainment. Those are the Miccha Sankappa. The opposite is Samma Sankappa. That's a part of wisdom. And understanding the 4 noble truths is the part of wisdom. But in Buddhism, what wisdom really is experiential wisdom. Now, you can learn about it. You can, whatever I talk to you today, I will share with you. These are all available. You can go check facts. You can check the suttas and sources. You can find them there. Those are knowledge. But the wisdom it's an experience. So, for example, when I tell being kind is good, it's a good knowledge, a good piece of information. Yeah, everybody knows that. But being kind is good becomes a wisdom when you feel it, when you really show that act of kindness toward others and how their life is changed and how it make you feel. That's the wisdom. Right? We talk about meditation. There's a ton of books. There's hundreds and thousands of books about mindfulness. Those are good knowledge. But it will be translated to wisdom when you sit down and practice 5 minutes and you experience what does really pain look like experientially. I cannot explain. It should be sat, it should be done with your consciousness, with your intention, and that's where wisdom is. And those wisdoms are irreversible. So, if Buddha were to tell Subhadra what is wisdom, and actually Subhadra did it. And the later part of the story was he went and he sat and he meditated. He was able to achieve one of the enlightenments. So that's why Subhadra is considered the Buddha's last disciple. And he did have to do that. Just like what Buddha gives you is a map, right? That map does not lead you to any destination. You got to walk on those maps to achieve that. So that's the process of wisdom. I don't know if I answer your question, Anand.
Yeah, that was a good answer. maybe like there was a philosopher named Baruch Spinoza,
Mm-hmm.
and he said that I don't practice virtue for a reward. I practice virtue because I delight in it.
Yeah, yeah,
So that would be kind of like the wisdom.
yeah. That's right. That's right. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Paul.
Thank you for your Dhamma talk. I take comfort in sitting in a group of practitioners. Wisdom is as vast as the sky, but are people living it? And I can listen to this, just the fundamentals over and over and over again. Because, at least from my viewpoint, their mileage may differ. Big money isn't going to solve the world, and power isn't going to solve the world, and weapon isn't going to solve the world. That's that integrating the wisdom of life.
Yeah.
I think it's the solution. I love to be in practitioners. I love the idea of practice. Everybody in the world thinks, I'm going to do it like for 90 days and I'll get some fantastic state or everything will work. But actually, and I love what I'm in this, that in practice it becomes a lifestyle and fulfilling in itself. And then we can just put our leg in the universe and go with evolution. But I just love hearing the fundamentals over and over. And I love being in community where we're bringing a solution. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. Yes.
Thank you, Sai, for your talk. You said something about following the path that will lead to enlightenment, which is a I don't feel like enough people emphasize that today. I'm just curious, do you have a sense of why people may shy away from talking about that following this path will lead to enlightenment, at least, the first stage or something like that?
Yeah. That's a good question. Remind me your name again?
Romero.
Romero, right. Romero. Thank you, Romero. That's a good question, Romero. I wonder too sometimes, like, not to blame anybody, but when I was a young monk, I've talked to my teachers, I was not exposed to Abhidhamma teaching until probably a couple of years after I was a monk for. And in Sri Lanka, that's where I saw mostly, this teaching happened. A lot of the times they keep Abhidhamma as if it's such a sacred teaching to the point that you don't even talk about it. It's like, this is too complex, this is too sacred, so let's talk about the suttas, let's talk about the other path leading toward the heaven, then stop there, don't go too further. But there are some teachers really takes to the next level. And to your question, why? I think there should be more rigorous studies. There should be more rigorous discussion beyond, superficial talks. That's where we don't have intellectual dialogues. That's commonly heard. When we were young, we had that. And I held a couple meetings here even after I left temple, because I had a few friends was very curious to know more. And I think it should spark from small groups, when it not necessarily replace what you do. Let's say you do chanting, you do meditation, they all should go. But I always think that Dhammasakacha, right, discussion of Dhamma, is so critical to your practice. Right? That's where you have to make it feasible. Like when you hear, like, I don't know if you hear when I tell you, do you hear that? Oh, that's doable. Yeah, I see the path. I can get to some point. See, that's what we need to do. We need to tell. The Buddha's teaching should not be secret. It shouldn't be hidden. You can ask any question. You should ask. Not out of respect. And I love how Buddha gave that option. This is actually the time when Buddha was about to pass away. It's the last few breaths. And Buddha asked for the last time, is there any doubt about my teaching? Does anybody have any question about my teaching? There was silence. Nobody spoke. And Buddha asked again, If you are not asking question out of respect for me, considering my age, my state, ask your friend that question and allow that friend to ask me the question. Do you see he was aware, like some people might have this respect or the deference, right? Deference toward the teacher, so they wouldn't bother. But Buddha gave that permission. So one way, like the teachers, the practitioners, teachers should engage in more deep, open dialogues and have bring more like path, the directions, and the audience, the listeners, you also need to bring more real questions, and don't let the speakers shy away from answering them. If they don't know, that's not a problem. Let's have this dialogue again next time. So that will kind of start a new trend. Like it's not just like you take what is given, you rather like inquire, what is really this path, that might help. So, any question or? Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for those good questions, and I hope you will continue to explore the teachings of the Buddha.
Thank you, Sai. It's a very good talk, and I really like that story. All right, we'll chant the page 4 and page 10. Namo tasse bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami.
I vow to save them all. Even passions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them all. Darkness are limitless. I vow to study them all. Buddha's way is supreme. I vow to attain it. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and the sick find health relief.
Thank you for everybody, and we have tea and donuts. Oh, so many things like that. And cake, yes. Uh, Thanks again, Sai. And couple of announcements. I think next Sunday is Subodh's Dhamma talk, and February 1st, Sunday is February 1st, we going to celebrate the Chinese New Year. And we going to honor our late Venerable Tiktyanan and Venerable Dr. Vansara and Venerable Dr. Karuna Dhamma, who is the founder of the center, and we are offering merit for them also that day, including other monks and nuns in IBMC, whoever they passed away. And we have, I'm assuming we are going to invite at least 12 monks. And after the service, we have Dhanam also. We have all kind of food, veggie and non-veggie both. And Sri Lankan, Indian, Thai, Vietnamese, Latino, all kind of food coming this time. Please come and join with us, which is going to be a February 1st. Little bit earlier, New Year is coming, I believe February around 10, around that time, 10, 12. But a little bit earlier because I was thinking it's good for me, that's why. So that's the announcement, and please come and join next time also, and make sure to come the February 1st also. Thank you again. By the power of the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha, you all be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.